All right, we outside. They finally got back outside. It's nice. So we're gonna go for a stroll, head to Harley. About 2 miles, about a mile and 1.7 miles. It's not bad, man. But Jay, today I wanna start talking about more about the principles. And today I wanna focus on the last principle, which is the first principle. Talked yesterday about the first principle being the last principle, but I think it's important to talk about the last principle, which is the first principle. Today's Tuesday, so I think tomorrow we might get some rain, so I want to get out here, move around a little bit. So yeah, man, one of the most important things that I'm doing while I'm here is working on my book, trying to finally get it out, man. I've been working on it for so many years. So included in the book are a set of principles, a code I created years ago. And this was under Beta-Free Lifestyle set of principles, 9 principles that you can utilize to guide not only yourself with self-management, leadership, and also entrepreneurship. It's something you can utilize as a parent for your children, right? Certain principles. Everybody has to live by a code, right? Live by a code. This is definitely a code that you can live by to just guide yourself and others in a very basic way. So each principle applies not only to self, but how you interact in a relationship with other people. And so I'm excited to bring this out. So first principle is enterprise. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking about this as we walk and move. We got about a 40-minute walk, so just bear with me. Anything else come up, we're gonna talk about it. Enterprise, right? So the basic thing with this principle is just do it. And so all of these principles touch on self-esteem, self-efficacy, ecology of self, person and environment, interpersonal relationships, distress tolerance. It touches on mindfulness, awareness. It touches on a lot of principles that come out of psychology. But again, these aren't principles that somebody owns, right? Who owns information? Anybody, nobody, right? Everybody, nobody, right? Everybody owns information. So nobody is the owner of any type of information, all right? But what we can do is curate the information, put it in a set of principles, a set of skills, a code that you can live by. You see what I'm saying? But nobody owns the information. That's important to understand. Very, very important to understand. Because just like what we're doing here, when you move around the world, again, you start to see people just people. Don't nobody own shit, Not really, right? Do you own your block, right? You only can own what you own, only what you create, all right? So having said that, enterprise, right, is a very important principle because without enterprise, you can't do anything. So this is what I mean by enterprise, right? Anybody that's successful is gonna tell you, just do it. Just do it, fam. That's what they're gonna tell you. So anybody that's successful is gonna tell you that, family, to just do it, right? And another reason why this principle is important is because I see a lot of people, and I've been through it myself. I've done it. We all do it, right? There's a few things that we do. We either don't believe we're good enough, right? So we lack confidence to even try. Or we get started on something and then it's paralysis by analysis, right? That's overanalyzing, thinking too much about it, looking at it for too long, and you'll miss the wave. So you got to be careful with that. I bet you there's somebody listening to me right now that they had an idea and they pondered and they pondered and they pondered and they never got it off the ground. So on one hand, I admire the people that just throw spaghetti on the wall, right? They didn't vet the idea. They didn't do any analysis at all, right? They didn't look into anything about it. If it's a business idea, they didn't do a SWOT analysis, right? They didn't measure the market, right? Nothing, right? They didn't back test anything. And yet, they just went out and did it. So, that's not good either, but I can at least admire those that, you know, they just get something right. You have a lot of failure that way, but for those that, at least they tried, right? So, this is a very important principle. I talk a lot about this in the book and how it relates to your mental health, how your mental health is probably impacting this, right? Where you are, right? When it comes to your mental health. And I'm telling you that a lot of it has to do with a lack of confidence. Because overall, especially nowadays, and I see it here, I see it everywhere. Everybody's head is in their phone. And unfortunately, what that creates or could create is a need to be validated. Now, I know I'm creating content now. So, people are going to have their heads in their phones watching this. But I'm here to tell you, family, like, overall, everything is moderation. And if you're not careful in this world of social media, you'll get locked into this need to be validated, right? And that's just gonna make your confidence level worse, because you're looking at yourself and judging yourself by other people, and that's whack. You see what I'm saying? So the need to be validated is something you got to be careful about. All right. So you can't care about what people think about you, how they look at you, what they say about you. You know what I mean? But especially with the younger generation, they look at social media and they see what other people are doing, right? And then it affects them because they think they ought to be doing the exact same thing, or they're wondering why it can't happen for them. They want to have what you got. And that already existed in the world. It already existed where people judge themselves by looking at what you got, right? And that's why I talked this morning about hate. Because to me, that's where haters come from. Most of the time, a hater is a person that they feel invalidated. They feel the need to hate on you. You know what I mean? But what they're doing is they're measuring themselves by looking at you. That's a bad trait. You can't measure yourself by looking at other people, right? You're already made, right? Beautiful and wonderful. That's what we was told, right? Beautifully and wonderfully made. So looking at other people for your own validation is whack. And this is why a lot of people don't get started towards their goals, their aspirations. So I'm telling you, you just got to get out and do it. You just got to go. Whatever it is, just go do it. You know what I mean? Just go do it, family. So you can't worry about anything. You just gotta do it. So again, any successful person, that's gonna be the first piece of advice they're gonna give you. They're gonna say, like Nike, just do it, right? Just go ahead and get it done, no matter what, right? It doesn't matter. Because if you sit around and worry, is it good enough, instead of doing the actual short-term analysis, that's all it takes, short-term analysis, to back test an idea, just like that, you'll get some indication of what you need to do, what adjustments you need to make, and then you can get it popping. But if you're worrying about somebody else validating the idea that don't know anything about it, you were not intentional about back testing the idea so that somebody could validate it, because that's the process, right? So don't get confused when I say looking for validation. When you have ideas, they have to be validated, right? It's all scientific method, right? You have something, you have a theory, posit that theory, you test it, you observe it, and, was your theory validated, basically, right? So don't get confused by what I'm saying. I'm talking about your individual need to be validated by other people. By people, let's catch this light, brother. by people that don't even know you in most cases, who definitely don't know what you're trying to do, anything about what you're trying to do, right? Because that's basically what I'm talking about. I'm talking about ideas, entrepreneurship, also talking about self-management and the things you need to do to get to that, right? Some level of success, some level of, obtainment, right? So some of the goals that you have, right? This is what I'm talking about. How do you, in essence, accomplish those goals so that you can honor yourself, right? So anyway, when it comes to accomplishing your goals, which is at the end of the set of principles, right? Accomplishing your goals so that you can honor yourself, right? How do you do that? How do you do that? What do you need to do to honor yourself through accomplishing your goals? So it basically starts with enterprise. That's where it starts. You know what I mean? It starts with just doing it. So I'm excited about getting these principles worked out, worked through, presenting them in this book so that people can just utilize it as a mirror, as a way that it helped me be successful. I needed a guide, right? So when I created these principles over 15 years ago, I've been using them as my guide. You know what I mean? And it's worked. So, and I know it'll work for anybody else that uses them, because you need these little hacks in your life, things that you can do where you can maybe get up in the morning, all right, follow these principles, journal your thoughts, your ideas, making sure that you're goal-oriented, goal-directed, intentional, and purposeful. But I'm gonna tell you, most people don't get out the gate. They don't get out the gate. And that's where this enterprise principle comes in. You know what I mean? So you gotta be able to get out the gate and get out the starting block. So if I was to ask how many people haven't been out the gates, how many people have been stuck in the starter block? It's a lot. What's the reason? What's holding you back? Why haven't you moved on your idea? Are you afraid? Is it fear, right? Is it lack of knowledge? What is it? You know what I mean? Lack of resources? What is it? Just don't know what to do? What is it? There's people that can help. And in today's world, you don't really need a lot of people. So the question is, what's been holding you back, right? So that's a question I think people should think about and ponder, try to figure out why you just won't, move. Just do it. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is just do it, right? So just a little motivation right now. Talk about the first, or should I say the last principle, but the first principle. And the reason why it's the last principle and the first principle is because it's the last principle in the mindset, right? It's a set of principles that is the mindset of HyperFocus leadership, right? That mindset is the last principle of knowledge in that mindset, right? Because it's going to take a mindset shift first, right? In order to break out of that staleness or that complacency, whatever it is that's holding a person back, it's going to be a mindset shift that needs to take place first, right? So I talk about this in the book as well. It starts with the mindset. And once you change your mindset, then you can start taking action, which leads me to the next point, which is it's the first step going the other way in the action plan. So it's the last principle of the mindset, right? But it's the first principle of the action plan, enterprise. What I see a lot is just straight up keeping it a buck is, people that they circle discourage them, right? I see that a lot too. Their circle, man, is it's either not encouraging or it's straight up hate. Straight up, right? But somewhere in between all that, you let that, or people let that same need for validation affect them. And you can't. because at the end of the day, it's not their mission. It's not their goal, right? So, like I said, we want to test things. We want to test things, you know, so we say, hey, look, check this out. What do you think? If that person don't give you the support you need, hey, man, go find somebody else. I'm going to tell y'all a little secret, man. You're going to get more support from people that you don't know versus the ones you do. It's people in your own family. You're going to ask them to check something out, to take a look at something, and they're going to look at you crazy. But you know what happens whenever you win? You know what happened when you win? You know what happened when you win? They try to take all the credit for it. Oh, I knew you was gone. I knew you was gone. Nah, you wasn't. No, you didn't. Thankfully, man, I got a supportive family. My family's always supported me, you know. But at the same time, I ain't tell them what I was doing a lot. I just went and did it, and then they seen it was done. So to keep it a buck, I ain't, you know, I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate that I left my environment young. You know what I'm saying? When you join the Army, right? 18, 19 years old, you're leaving home, you know, at 19. So I'm not around any family members. So none of my family members knew anything about what I was doing along the way. Now, I'm sure they would have been supportive, but at the same time, I ain't have to deal with that. So that's how I know, because other people that I've talked to, they shared their experiences with me. That's what they said. Like, man, it was the people that wasn't even in my family that was like, yo, this is how you do this is how you do that, this is how you get the resources. They was encouraging, just words, etc., you know. But, you know what else? Man, your family got to kind of think you dope. Because if they don't, maybe they just don't think you dope. Maybe they like, you been messing up your whole life, bro. You ain't gonna do nothing. That could be it too. I still wouldn't let that stop me, no matter what, from being successful. So, whatever it is, man, there's no excuse for lacking resources. There's no excuse for lack of encouragement. There's nothing that you can use as an excuse not to just do it. That's what it is, man. Make sure you tap in, stay tapped in as I roll out these projects. As I roll this book out, Godfather ElTee Volume 1 coming this summer. And, you know, we're hoping to have the book rolling out too by the fall. Once we get the book rolled out, then we should have the platform finished. HyperFocus Leadership Academy will be up and running. So HyperFocus Leadership Academy up and running by the fall is my goal. Godfather ElTee Volume 1 this summer. You know what I mean? We got HyperFocus Racing, right? Which is a platform that my son's building. And yeah, man, it's everything HyperFocus, you know what I'm saying? So tap in, stay locked in. We got other entrepreneurship ventures that, you know, we trying to network with people. We trying to build. Tap in, stay tapped in. We got LMAC Trucking, LMAC Services. It's all logistics. We're going to build one of the dopest carrier networks. We're gonna provide opportunities, education, right? So someone that scaled a transportation company, I said, you know what? Let me try to share this information with some people I know could utilize it. We can't help everybody. I don't know everybody. Everybody's not gonna see my information, right? But those that do, I always say, man, if we can help one person, you know what I'm saying? 1 turns into 2, 2 turns into 5. And next thing you know, it's millions of people that benefited from something that you started. You know what I mean? Just by being willing to share the information. So once again, I'm not just talking. I'm not just doing this. I just realized in order to help people, to really try to help people, I'm gonna have to take content creation serious.